Craig James here from masculinebydesign.com. This is the Masculine by Design Mancast. Glad to be with you for another episode here today. Today's episode is on the topic of stains that are covering our masculinity, stains that cover the masculinity of modern man. We'll talk about what those stains are and how we can polish those stains off of our being so we can live the lives that we've been intended and created to live. That we can unleash our masculinity on our lives, on our families, on the world, that we can leave our mark, that we can be men of higher value, and men who are uncompromisingly masculine. So before we get started today, I just want to, as always, ask all of you who get some value out of this, maybe you're a first-time listener, but after listening to this podcast, or even right now, if you just please go to iTunes, search for Masculine by Design Mancast, leave me a 5-star review. That will really help me get this message of masculinity out to as many men as possible. And just one way that you can pay it forward for the value that I bring here. It does take a lot of time to get behind this microphone and to edit these podcasts, get them polished up and published, and plan them out. And just really to be introspective. I'm constantly thinking as I go through my day about ways that I can tie in the topic of masculinity to the way that we live our lives, the way I live my life, so that I can bring value to you guys, so that I can bring it to the forefront, so you can take what I'm gleaning and what I reflect on and use it to bring value to your own life. So the best way you can pay it forward is just to go to iTunes, search for the Masculine by Design Mancast, leave me a 5-star review. Let me know what you like about this podcast. You can also go to masculinebydesign.com and sign up for your free copy of my ebook, Masculine by Design, where I explore 4 principles that I believe are quintessential to men living their lives in the way that they were created to live them. And now that I've gotten the shameless plugs out of the way, we can move on to the main topic of today's podcast, which is again related to the stains that are covering our masculinity today. And so I've identified 3 stains that are just covering our masculinity, covering the masculinity of modern men, particularly in America today. And I want to talk about those 3 stains because I think that we have to become aware of what's going on around us, the forces that are at work in trying to repress our masculinity, keep it under the surface, and ineffective, because that's what happens. When we repress our masculinity, it's ineffective. It is powerful for us as men to unleash that masculine power that we have, that masculine energy that we have, that convicted energy, that energy to be great. To not just for ourselves, but for our families, for our wives, for our kids, for our society, that energy to be exceptional. We need that. And when we repress that masculine energy, it's damaging. There are severe consequences, and we're seeing them play out around us. But before we can combat that, we have to be aware of what's going on. And so I want to use this podcast today to expose those stains, or at least 3 of the most prevalent stains that are in the lives of men today, repressing their masculinity, obscuring it, keeping it from being able to shine for everybody to see and to bring value to the lives of men today. So the first stain that I want to talk about is the stain of fear and worry. Fear and worry are things that enslave a man. They hold him captive. And nothing will keep us in lives of perpetual mediocrity like fear and worry. And the reason for that is that fear and worry those things keep us from acting. They keep us from taking action on what we know we need to take action on to better ourselves, to improve our situations, to act out our convictions, to do the things that we as men know that we need to be doing to live life to the fullest. And when we focus on fear, it paralyzes us. It toggles our perspective from one of productivity to one of dysfunction. And so instead of fixing our gaze on what we desire for our life and pursuing it with a mindset that is pissed off for success, as I talked about, I believe, in the first podcast, instead of that, we fear the future. We fear taking action And so we end up not taking action, and we live a life that is completely devoid of personal progress. So when we let fear take over, it prevents us from acting, from learning, from growing, from leading, from gaining higher value in our lives. It drowns out the irrational self-confidence that we should have. We should have an irrational self-confidence as men. We should believe that we are going to succeed in whatever it is that we set out to succeed in before we've ever even started. We may not actually succeed. We may fail. But in order to have the greatest chance possible at achieving success, we need to go in it with a mindset as if we've already won. And in reality, we really have. Even if we fail, we still win. We still gain something out of that experience. We still gain something that we can use. We gain skills, we gain experiences, we learn lessons that can then be used to continue to grow, to continue to enhance our lives, to continue to become men of higher value. So we really do succeed no matter what. But fear strips us of that irrational self-confidence. We take the focus off of victory and instead focus on defeat. And any athlete, any champion will tell you that there is no way that you can be a champion. You can never be successful in life or in any sport or in any endeavor if your fear of failure exceeds your focus on succeeding. You have to have an irrational self-confidence, so you go about your business in a way in which you've already achieved whatever it is you're hoping to achieve. And so when we let worry infect our lives, we end up taking no risks, which sounds good. You know, you take no risks. You think that you're avoiding undesirable consequences, but that's great. But it's you're completely depriving yourself of receiving any reward for action, for taking some risks and going out there, going after what you want. You know, so your life becomes stagnant, and that everything that is detestable in your life, everything that's condemning you to a life of mediocrity, to this suffering and silent desperation, it remains. You don't get rid of it, and you do nothing to eliminate it from your life. And so you let fear hold you captive, to enslave you in the current life that you're in, when you know you want something better for yourself. You know you want something more. So you can't let yourself focus on fear and worry and become so terrified of failure that the possibility of success just doesn't even enter your mind, or it is drowned out by that fear. You know, and another fear that men have, or worry, is what other people are going to think of them. You know, men tend to worry about what people think of them today. That's not masculine. Who gives a damn what somebody thinks about you? I don't care. I care about the convictions that I have that are driven by my faith, by the desires I have for my life, for my family, for my society. I don't give a damn what someone else thinks about me. I know what I want to achieve in life, and I know what I need to do to get there, and that's what matters. It shouldn't matter what somebody else is going to think about us acting on our convictions. If we're convicted to do something, we should be doing it. Again, one of the surest ways that we can be stuck in a life of discontented mediocrity is to live our life according to what everyone else does. When we let the fear of what others think take over our lives, basically what we're doing is living according to the same low, piss-poor expectations that others have for themselves, because that's what it is. When people get pissed off or they become naysayers about the way that we're acting on our convictions and trying to better ourselves, all they're really doing is lashing out because you're acting in a way that exceeds the low expectations they have for their lives. And so when you let the way they're going to react or the way someone else is going to think about what you're doing for you keep you down, you're basically just guaranteeing that you're going to stay living according to the same low, piss-poor expectations they have for their own life. And that's completely unacceptable. No man should ever go through life that way. Stop caring about what others think. Stop fearing what someone else might have to say or think about you acting out your convictions. You go after for what you know you need to do in life, what you desire for yourself, and don't worry about what someone might have to say about it. You know, masculine men, we set expectations for our own lives. You know, our expectations are ours alone, and we should be pursuing those unconcerned with what others might think about it. And when we focus on fear and worry, our masculine vigor is robbed from us. Fear and worry really, I mean, if you think about it, they're completely worthless, except in situations of life and death. There's really no value that we gain from fear and worry. We worry about what might happen if we do certain things. And most of the time, our worry, the worry that we have in our head, is 100 times worse than what would actually happen if we just went forward with pursuing what it is we wanted to achieve. And so we can't let fear and worry rob us of what it is we want for our lives. And worry doesn't change anything. Worry won't change our lives. Worry keeps us in the same state that we're in, again, because it prevents us from acting. It paralyzes us from taking action on what we know we should be doing. But acting on our convictions, that will better ourselves. That action always provides some value to us. It always gives us something that we can build on, something that we can use to continue to better ourselves as we go through life. And, as a Christian, I always like to look at what Jesus has to say on certain things whenever I can. And he had a lot to say about worry and fear to his disciples. Because worry and fear is a natural human condition. It's something that we all deal with. Jesus dealt with it. When Jesus was facing the cross, he was so fearful of that he was dealing with a medical condition known as hematidrosis, where he actually had his capillaries had expanded and gotten to the point where they were allowing blood to seep into his sweat. So this is a state of extreme worry. And, granted, what he was facing was real. It was imminent. But he still had the message for his disciples not to worry. He said, don't worry about your life. Can any one of you add a single hour to your life by worrying? And, obviously that's a rhetorical question. And he kind of answers it by saying, therefore, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So stop worrying. Stop worrying about what tomorrow might hold. Take action today. Do what you need to do today, and let tomorrow take care of itself. That's what Jesus said, and I've lived my life by that to the best of my ability, and I can tell you that it will bring an immense benefit to you if you can intentionally do that for yourself. So get rid of that stain of fear and worry on your masculinity. And the next stain that men are dealing with today is a stain of negativity. Negative men they piss me off, but more than that, they annoy me. They're insufferable. I can't stand men that complain. Negative men are a detriment to themselves, their families, their society, their employers. And negativity it's cancerous. It has to be eliminated the moment it's recognized, or it will destroy your life. If you allow complaining and just looking at the negativity in all things, blaming others for what you don't have, not seeing the blessings that you've been given, especially if you live in America. This is the greatest time to be alive. It really is. We don't know what tomorrow holds, obviously. But right now we're living in an era of peace, relative peace anyway. We have connectivity with everybody throughout the world through the internet. We have medical procedures and innovations and technologies that keep us alive into our 70s and 80s on average. The food is abundant. There are just so many things for us to be thankful for. It really is a shame that so many of us choose to go through life with this stain of negativity over our psyche. So when we let this negativity come into our lives as men, especially if we're fathers and husbands, that infects our family. Our wives feed off of that, and not in a good way. They become negative as well. They become fearful. Our wives need us as men to be emotional rocks for them, to deal with the challenges that come in life in a way that is positive, that is productive, that is forward-thinking, and they need that. When a man breaks down and he becomes negative, becomes a complainer, his wife and his children can't rely upon him, that will destroy his family. That his wife will not deal with that well. His kids will not deal with that well. Their sense of security will be destroyed. So we as men have to keep that in mind we need to remain positive. And one of the principles that I talk about in my book, Masculine by Design, that you can get on masculinebydesign.com for free, is that positive attitude. We need to be positive at all times. Life is going to throw its share of challenges at us, and they're going to suck at times, and there are going to be tragedies and other things that we have to deal with. That's part of life, living in a sin-stained world. But as men, we need to be the rock that our families can depend on to weather the storm, to have the waves of life beat against us while they're behind us, letting us take the brunt of the force that hits us, that hits our families, and be a rock for our families. Give them a sense of security to know that we are there, we're in charge, we're in control, and that we will make sure that nothing harms them any more than it has to. And so, unfortunately, too many men have allowed this negativity to come into their lives today. And when you become negative, it just opens up the doors for so many things to go awry in your life. You end up spending so much energy on analyzing all the made up and the fabricated excuses for how the world is holding you back, or for why you don't have what you deserve, that you don't then have the energy to do anything positive, to do anything to benefit your life, to do anything to bring value to you. So many guys sit and they want to blame their employers that they don't make enough money. Well, nobody's keeping you there. Go find another job. If you truly are that valuable, you won't have any trouble finding a job that'll pay you what you're worth. So many guys complain. I can't find a girl that'll love me the way I love her. Well, think about that. Why is that? Maybe you need to stop worshiping them and maybe display to them that you're a man who is on a mission, and carry your frame in a way that they want to follow you, instead of you carrying yourself in such a way that they know they'd have to be the leader in that relationship. That's not what women want. They want a supporting role. They want a man who's an alpha. They want a man who's masculine, who takes care of business, and they can come along for the ride and support in that role, and be protected, and be loved, and be cherished, and return those same sentiments to you. So think about why you're in the situations you're in. Don't get negative about them. Find out what it is that you can be doing differently. That's what a masculine man does. He doesn't sit and complain like a little whiner. The success of others shouldn't perturb us toward despondency. When we see other people succeeding, that should encourage us. That should put in our minds what's possible. We should be able to see what other people are succeeding in and how they're achieving, and it should motivate us to action, especially if it's something that we want for ourselves. When we see somebody who's achieving something that we wish we had, it shouldn't make us get downtrodden and pissed off because somebody else got what we want. It should encourage us and say, hey, look, this guy did exactly what I want to do for my life. You should emulate that. Find out what they're doing and do the same thing. It shouldn't discourage you at all. It should encourage you to set your mind on what you want to accomplish and go after that. One up that guy. Show him that you have what it takes to succeed, and then some. A negative mindset, I think, can only really proliferate when a man feels powerless. When a man feels he's completely out of control, or that his circumstances are outside of his control, I think that's the natural default, that we place blame on other people and we make excuses. But at the end of the day, whatever situation we find ourselves in life, whatever lot we have, that's our own. That's our making. We're responsible for that. Not all of us have the same starting point, but we're all responsible for wherever we are in life at any given time. And we're all responsible for changing it if we don't think that it's where we want to be. So remember that negativity is a blight on our masculinity. It cripples us from being able to continuously improve ourselves. It'll diminish our outlook on life, and it has a deleterious impact on our families, on our wives, on our children. Every area of our life will be compromised when we embrace a mindset of negativity. So we need to steer clear of that. We need to polish that stain off the moment that it's recognized, so that its effects are mitigated and they're not allowed to be far-reaching and widespread in our lives, and really cancerous to our ability to achieve our potential as men. Now, the third and last stain on our masculinity that I want to talk about is the stain of distraction. And I am one who is distracted easily. I'm distracted often. So this is not me preaching down to anybody. This is me talking about a stain that I have to polish off of my own life with regularity. Opportunities for distraction today in our technical world with smartphones, laptops, tablets, television, whatever. I mean, there's so many distractions around us that make it really easy to not stay focused on the things that we should be focused on, and just veg out and do things that aren't bringing any value to us, that aren't advancing us, that aren't making us smarter, wiser. We're missing out on life's experiences because we're zoning out in front of a lit up computer screen. Just as I record these podcasts, I have to put my phone on silent, and I usually set it next to me. But I'll see that thing light up, a dozen times in a half an hour while I'm recording these podcasts. And so, just our iPhones or our smartphones provide such an opportunity for distraction. So we need to be mindful of that. All of the and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, that's just technology related. Then you throw in, our kids, our household chores. I think all of us married men, we know about the honey-do list, right? 24/7 news cycle. We have video games, sports to watch and keep up with. I don't understand that allure myself. I am a sports fan to a certain extent, but men who get obsessed and crazed over it, I don't understand. No man, in my opinion, should ever be crying because a sports team lost a game. It should never affect his life longer than 5 minutes. I think that it's silly that we put such stock into what other grown men are doing on a sports field, and take so little stock of our own lives at times. And I say that as someone who used to be in the arena, pun intended, of those who would let sports affect them. Then we have, porn. How many men are just sucked into porn? They spend hours every week watching porn, pleasuring themselves to porn. Such a distraction, such a wasted use of their masculine energy. Again, there's just so many things that can distract us if we're not careful. And they're just, I don't even know, 90%. 75 to 90% of men who just waste their day from sun up to sundown in front of a computer screen or in front of a electronic device, being distracted and not doing anything of value, not learning anything, not reading a thought-provoking book, not interacting with their children or other men or women, other than maybe commuting to and from work. It's really sad. And, many of these things are tremendous blessings for us. We have endless opportunity for entertainment at our fingertips, and also the answer to almost any question that we have. How often are we sitting around with some friends or family, or just having a discussion with coworkers or whatever, and a dispute arises as to something that we wouldn't we wouldn't have the immediate answer available just 20 years ago, and now we just pick up our phone and we can look up anything from the density of carbon to the number of home runs hit by the Oakland Athletics in 1988. It's amazing the information that we have available to us. But we have to keep in mind that while this information makes a wonderful servant, it makes a terrible master. And most men are slaves to the master of technology today. They let technology own them. They let technology distract them. And, think about the limited time we have on this earth. We don't have long. If we're lucky, maybe 100 years. I think the average lifespan for a man right now is about 76 years. So not long. And then if you break that down even further, for us husbands and fathers, the amount of time that we have to have a positive impact on our children, it's a matter of a few years. Really, maybe 15 years? Now, granted, I think that as masculine men, we should be having an impact on our families for as long as we're alive. But the real heavy impact years that we can have on our children, maybe the first 15 years, maybe 20 years if we're lucky. To waste that time sitting in front of the television or staring at a smartphone screen, you go out to dinner and you see these families and they're just absorbed in their iPads and their iPhones, not even taking that blessing of an opportunity to spend time with one another, talk about things that may be going on in their lives, and using that as an opportunity to teach your children. There are so many opportunities to teach. Almost every interaction that they have with each other, with other kids, things that they see going on around them that they maybe don't understand or might be interpreting incorrectly. All of those things are opportunities to teach, and we need to take advantage of that. And so, again, this is something I'm guilty of. It's really easy. We go out to dinner as a family, and it's real easy to try to mitigate the risk that the kids might, act out, not be on very good behavior, and be an annoyance to the people around us. And so you give them a phone or an iPad, and just let them soak into that. And yeah, they won't be a pain to anybody around them, including their mother and I. But it's also a waste of time. We're wasting that opportunity to feed into them. So as men, we need to recognize that our time is limited with our children, to really have an impact on them, to teach them, to train them up in the way they should go. And we need to be mindful of that. And if you think about this, is it really any wonder that so many men are unsatisfied with the lives they built for themselves? Really. Think about the way so many men spend their time today. The way that we spend our time, the way we spend our money, it really shows what we value. And so many men they take all this pride in their knowledge of sports or current events, or whatever. And meanwhile, their bodies are in shambles. That they're fat, they're weak, they're unattractive. They're not assertive. They're passive. They let their wives or girlfriends make all the decisions in their lives. Their children walk all over them. They don't look up to them, and they haven't earned that respect. It's sad. They're wasting the gifts of intellect, marriage, fatherhood, leadership, physical prowess and creativity, the drive of ambition that they've been given. These are things that have been given to them as masculine men, and they're completely wasting those gifts. So, I guess I just want to implore you, as I'm imploring myself, put down the phones, get away from the TV, pay attention to your wife, pay attention to your kids, pay attention to your own desires for your own life, and do the things that you need to enhance your value, to grow, to continue to progress on the path of life that you desire for yourself. It's easy. It's easy to get distracted, spending time on Twitter, watching the news cycle, going on YouTube, surfing videos, whatever it might be. The distractions are endless that we have around us. So we really need to be intentional and mindful about what we desire for our lives, and making sure that those things that are creeping in and keeping us from achieving our ambitions, that we mitigate that we keep the time that we spend on those things to a minimum, and pursue the life that we want with the vigor that it deserves. So that's all that I have for today. Again, these are stains that we need to really be mindful of, and really the point of this podcast was to point them out and to encourage men to be mindful of them, to watch out for them when they see these stains crop up in their lives. Get rid of them, kick them to the curb. You start to see the stain of fear and worry creep into your lives. You see yourself not taking action on something that you should, because you're scared of the results, or you're scared of what others might think about that, about doing so. That's your cue to act right there. As soon as you start seeing that fear, screw that fear. Let it know who's boss, and you act in defiance of it. you start seeing that stain of negativity creep into your life, where you want to point fingers for what you don't have in life, or look at what other people have that you don't, and sit back and complain about it instead of taking action and doing what you need to do to get what you want out of life, that's on you. You need to get rid of that negativity. You need to polish that off and get back that irrational self-confidence, that masculine irrational self-confidence that you have inside of you, and use that to achieve, to go after what you want, to take, never, ever take no for an answer, and continue to pursue your potential with all the energy and vigor that it deserves. And stop being distracted. Stop letting the infinite number of distractions around us to keep you from what you want, from what you desire, from what your kids and your wife deserve from you. And that's really the basis of what I wanted to get across today, is that we need to be mindful of these three prominent stains so that we can polish them off whenever they crop up in our lives. So I really appreciate you listening today. I hope that you get some value out of that you can use that in your own life. I think that you can. These are stains that I think a majority, if not all, men deal with, and by getting rid of them, the collective value, I should say, that men in America and around the world will experience will be tremendous. And I look forward to hearing about that. Please feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Masculine Design. Let me know what you think about this podcast. Give me your feedback. Also, please feel free to let me know if there's a topic you want me to tackle in a future edition of this Masculine by Design Mancast. Please go to iTunes, search for the Masculine by Design Mancast, and leave me a 5-star review so I can get this message out to more men. You will help improve my rankings within their search algorithms. And finally, please go to masculinebydesign.com and pick up your copy of Masculine by Design, my book that will help you unleash the power of your masculinity by simply adhering to 4 easy to follow but often neglected principles today. So thanks again for listening. Until next time, this is Craig James. I'm out.